My name is Brad Anderson. I'm Executive Director of Salina Arts and Humanities, a department of the City of Salina. Salina Arts and Humanities was started in 1966 in Salina, Kansas, as a department of the city. It's the same year nationally the National Endowment for the Arts was started. And Salina has been a leader in arts and arts administration really ever since that time. So we are a Department of Arts and Culture for the City of Salina, and as Executive Director, I get to sit at the same table as the Public Works Director, Parks and Police and Fire, and other department heads, Finance and Accounting, to help program and plan for the City of Salina. I'm a lifelong resident of Salina, Kansas, and have watched Arts and Humanities develop over the years from a part-time director to now about a $1.8 million budget and 13 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees in conjunction with the Smokey Hill Museum. So I've seen a lot of change over the last 60 years of living here in Salina, and the primary things that have changed are some of the obvious ones: the initiation of the Smokey Hill River Festival, the very successful grants program, the inclusion of the Smokey Hill Museum as a department of the city, whereas before it was a private organization, and many of the other programs and outreach that we do, a public art program and arts education and many other things that we do to provide resources and services to the community. So what attracted me to Salina Arts and Humanities was the opportunity to help lead a successful organization with a strong staff and help make the arts relevant or celebrate the relevance of the arts in this community in a variety of ways that reach as many citizens as we can. The Smoky Hill Museum is a nationally accredited museum, one of 11 or 12 in the state of Kansas, I believe, and one of 2 in Salina that are nationally accredited museums. Being nationally accredited means that the Smoky Hill Museum has a specialized staff in a variety of disciplines. They have a curator of education, a curator of exhibits and design of those exhibits. They have a registrar that handles and manages all of the details associated with 30,000 plus artifacts within the collection, and then obviously a director of the museum and also a curator of collections, a person who helps kind of manage the acquisition and deacquisition of items that make up that 30,000 piece collection. I think it's actually up to about 32,000 or so, and that doesn't include all of the individual documents. So they provide an important resource for the history of Saline County from its early geologic history up until just the recent years, and are continually adding things to the collection and then curating stories, telling stories about the events and the happenings that helped shape Saline County. Well, the collection is really quite interesting in that only about, I'm shooting from the hip here a little bit because it does vary, but there's probably no more than 1,000 to 1,500 at a maximum time that are on display at any given time. So there are, I think, about 16 or so cases that are focused on particular aspects of Salina's history: education, warfare, agriculture, business, mercantile and commerce, public health, and then our early history. And so pioneer life and some of our grain and farming beyond just the straight agriculture. So those temporary displays and in those display cases, about 1 to 2 of those change every month. And so over the course of a year and a half, the entire collection shifts. And then the museum also has a central gallery that focuses on specific items. And and those stories change about every 6 months, and they're a little bit more in depth. So right now there's a two-part show that's just finishing up on the 50s, and there were a number of things happening in the mid to late 50s that helped shape or inform our country, including the threat of nuclear war. And to answer your question about an artifact that stands out, downstairs, usually in the basement of the museum, but now currently on display, is an iron lung, a large mechanical device that with the complications of polio that some people had to spend the remainder of their lives in, getting breathing assistance. And we have living in a time period now where polio has been virtually eradicated from the earth, and seeing the impact of that, and also visiting with citizens who lived in one of those for a while, who experienced one as a patient, is a really powerful thing to see and to remember, and especially with today's pandemic and other things, to remember how important science and community health is. We had a challenging year in 2020. We're in a lot better shape now, but in 2020, as part of the lockdown and just the essential services being offered, the arts and the museum programming that we normally would be doing weren't possible, and a majority of our staff was furloughed for about 12 weeks, and 12 to 14 weeks. And that kind of put a hit on us in terms of what we were able to do. There were things we could have done, but in order to save the city of Salina some budget money, virtually every department took about a 20% overall cut to their budget in personnel for the year, to try to hit our projected shortfalls based on the loss of sales tax revenue. So in terms of the pandemic, what it has allowed us to do since the employees returned in August of 2020 is to adapt. There are a very popular series of events on the first Thursday of every month at the museum that involves guest speakers coming in and sharing about some aspect of history. Those are all virtual now. We're doing all of those through Zoom and pre-registration practices, and that's helped connect arts and culture and the museum history to the public in a different way. And we'll probably continue some of that for the foreseeable future, but eventually we'll get back to in-person events. We had to cancel the Smokey Hill River Festival. That was a huge disappointment for our staff and for the community. We were 2 weeks from doing the press conference announcing all of the entertainment, all of the artists, all of the special events that were associated with that, and we went from full speed ahead to full stop to full reverse in about a 2-week window, and then went on furlough. So we are now in the process as Arts and Humanities, as the other division of the department, of adapting a lot of our content in arts education to virtual learning or video-based learning for what used to be in-person visits by artists in the classrooms. Now we're filming those and paying artists licensing fees for their content, and then adapting to the school's needs that way. And then we're preparing for a festival in 2021, but in order to have the best event possible with the most freedom and flexibility, the least amount of restrictions, we did something I thought we would never do, and that is to move it. We moved it from the second weekend of June to Labor Day weekend this year. And so staff is working diligently to take care of all of the details of making that event the best it can be. And then right on the heels of that being done, we are going to be in the middle of the planning and execution of the 2022 festival, because each year's planning of a river festival really takes about 14 months. We start 2 months before the scheduled event getting ready for the next one. And so we go April through that whole year and to the following June to pull one of those off. And so this year we've got a little extra time to plan the adjusted one, but we have 4 months less to get the next one pulled off. So we're going to be busy. The Smoky Hill River Festival features 4 stages, 128 exhibiting artists, 8 craft demonstrators. We have a huge interactive children's area with many of those activities free of charge, and we draw between 60 and 70,000 people a year over the 4-day event, and we're planning on that for 2021. We think that the health guidelines, as long as there aren't conflicts or a resurgence of the virus or a variant, that we can plan pretty much normally. We may be wearing masks then, or masks may be voluntary, but that wouldn't interfere with our ability to produce a very good event. We also have 36 food booths. So we're making some changes there. Like, for instance, we're not going to have a communal tent for people to eat the purchases that they make. We're going to spread the 30 picnic tables that we have throughout the park into shady areas and just spread people out throughout the environment a little bit more. We'll ask people, if necessary, to practice social distancing where appropriate, but overall the health guidelines we've seen locally and nationally are very supportive of outdoor events. For public health and safety, we're going to stay on top of that with CDC guidelines for festivals and fairs. They do exist, and we've already been looking at those. And then we just met recently with county health officials and emergency management officials to make sure that our plans for the festival to be the best it can work in compliance with the guidelines that they're anticipating for the fall. So, and we're doing the same thing for the Smokey Hill Museum Street Fair that's scheduled the 3rd week of September for a Saturday right in front of the museum. So our events are going on as before, but with a little extra planning and caution and hand washing stations and sanitizing opportunities for the public. We in Salina Arts and Humanities, as mentioned, we have 2 divisions: the Smokey Hill Museum and Arts and Humanities. And of the Arts and Humanities division, we have 7 full-time employees. Those 7 employees help oversee the work of 22 committees for the River Festival. And of those 22 committees, they help leverage support to pull the festival off successfully of 2,000 volunteers. And so in terms of community engagement, it is the most rigorous production of the year for the city of Salina, and it involves every city department and many local businesses and individuals who give their time or talent or their dollars to help pull this off. So yeah, we're working with some of those larger volunteer organizations right now to see if they have concerns or questions about the availability of their employees or staff, or as a public health message, whether they want to be involved at the same level, and then we'll adjust accordingly. It's very easy to get involved. We use an interface for those that are web savvy and email and other things. We have something called signup.com that allows you to see what's currently available, the slots, the times, and you can get online and sign up relatively easily. For some of our committee work or our more involved volunteering opportunities, we invite anyone who is interested to call our offices, and we'd be happy to provide job descriptions of what those volunteer needs are, or get the volunteers in touch with those who are responsible for recruiting their areas. We use volunteers at the front gates. We use them throughout the park. We have them with entertainment, with artists, with special art installations. We do 20 site-specific art installations that are only up for the weekend, and then at the end of the weekend they go away. But we interrupt life with some art, and that's been all of those are opportunities for folks to volunteer. Salina Arts and Humanities is only one of two fully staffed and funded departments of arts and culture as part of city government in the state of Kansas. And I think it's important for people to know and to express their thanks and appreciation to our governing body and to other city leaders about how much they value this opportunity to have one of us here. Wichita has a department, and there are other cities who have a head of an arts commission or a paid position, but they don't have the benefit of a full staff and facilities that we've been blessed to have. So Salina should be proud of the investment that the community has made for 6 decades in the arts, and we look forward to serving. We're also an open book. If anybody has questions, concerns, opinions, as a public venue, we want to hear those, and there's opportunities to serve on the Arts and Humanities Commission as a volunteer and help learn how programs are done and how things are shaped, and major decisions and changes for the festival are brought to that body, and the mayor appoints new members for that commission every year. So there's information about that on our website, salinaarts.com, or the City of Salina's website.